Welcome to episode 212 of the Reptile Gumbo podcast. I have a 112 up there on the screen, but it's not 112. It's 212.
I just noticed that.
It is 212.
That's funny.
So tonight, there's a couple things. One, our guest will be here about 30 to 40 minutes or so.
Yeah.
So our guests come in there. That gives us time to talk some stuff, go over our Facebook message group, our Facebook group that we haven't talked about anything like the past 2-3 shows.
No.
A lot of stuff on there.
There has been.
Let's go ahead and get sponsor stuff out of the way. You want to do sponsor stuff?
Yeah. Lil's Shop of Horrors operates a commercial feeder breeder facility based out of San Antonio, Texas. And they specialize in rats, mites.
No, they do not specialize in mites.
They specialize in rats, mice, dubia roaches, Madagascar hissing cockroaches, and more. I wondered if taking my meds before the podcast was going to affect my speech.
They don't do mites. That is not them.
As feeder breeders, they focus on the nutritional needs of the animals that consume them. Nationwide shipping is available on live insects. For frozen rodent shipments, reach out to check availability in your area. And if you're looking to place an order, feel free to contact them through any of their social media pages at Lil's Shop of Horrors or email them directly for any inquiries.
Whoop, whoop. Yes, check out Lil's Shop of Horrors for all your feeder needs. Also, talking about Lil's Shop of Horrors, we still have our giveaway for this month going on. All you got to do is go over to our Facebook page and tell us your least favorite feeder and why. And you're put in for 500 dubia roaches from Lil's Shop of Horrors and the feeder fuel, the food to feed those guys, from our friends over at Reddy's Rainforest. That food is amazing. Plenty of my roaches go crazy over it. So you get all of that. If you've thought about starting a dubia colony, but you haven't done it, here's your chance. It's pretty easy. I've got my tub over here, but just take a Rubbermaid tub, put some holes in it, throw some egg crate and some roaches in there, sprinkle some feeder fuel in there, and they're good. I've also found to water them. A lot of people like to do the water crystals. I'm not a fan of the water crystals. What I do is I order plastic test tubes off of Amazon. Get rid of the lids. You don't need them. Fill them with water, shove cotton balls in them, and then put them in there. And they drink the water out of the cotton balls. That's how I've always watered my roaches. Nice, neat, clean, easy to do. So go ahead and get over there, our Facebook page, get entered for our giveaway. And end of the month, we'll pull a winner from that. Just tell us again. Favorite feeder. Oh, also, you got to go give our friends a like. Go give Reddy's Rainforest a like. You got to give them a like for me to pick you. And our friends over at Lil's Shop of Horrors a like on their socials. Help them out. They're doing the giveaway for us, so help them out. You gonna make it over there?
I have not had any issues all day.
But now you are.
But now I am.
So Katie's in having leg issues.
So I have a pinched nerve that is affecting my sciatic nerve, which is causing temporary paralysis in my left leg. And as horrible as that sounds, James Lewis has been living it for the last week.
Has been miserable on my
side. I have not been myself.
I'm a saint. I'm just saying that.
He is, and he definitely deserves it because I'm not the best patient.
Where did you get the NARBC shirt?
I've had this, but it was hanging up in the closet, so I thought I'd wear it tonight on the podcast.
But we didn't. Did we?
We did. This was the one that we recorded podcast stuff at.
That's
at
2021.
Yeah,
it's currently 2021. Is it? It has not been that long.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
I grabbed one out of the closet and realized it was an adult medium and it belonged to our child. So I hung that one back up. And
I did not realize it's been that long since we've been to that. Now it's NARBC Dallas, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyways, go give them a follow. Give us a answer which one's your least favorite feeder. Get in for the giveaway.
Perch on the edge of the seat and see if that helps any.
Let's also check out Herp's Reptile shows coming up. We have West Monroe, Louisiana, May 4th and May 5th. May the 4th be with you. That's in 2 weeks. Conroe, Texas, June 8th, June 9th. I will be there. Katie will partially be there.
I will be there Sunday.
We have Longview, Texas, June 22nd and June 23rd. Slidell, Louisiana, July 20th, July 21st. Sulphur, Louisiana, July 27th, 28th. Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, August 3rd, August 4th. Corpus Christi, Texas, August 10th, August 11th. And Bryan College Station, Texas, August 17th and August 18th. That's your upcoming Herp's Reptile shows. Go check them out. Get you some reptiles.
Anniversary.
Ish. Our anniversary is on the 15th. I do remember that.
It'll be 15 years this August, man.
Gross. Time for a new one.
Jeez Louise. I don't know. You took pretty good care of me this week. I don't know that I'm upgrading.
I'm done. That's all the care you get.
No.
Also, check out our friends over at VivTech Products for all your UVB light bulb needs. Also, halogen. See, I remembered it this time. Halogen, that's the kind of bulb I got. And all their smart devices. I need to get one of those in situ cameras to put in my blue tongue cage so I can watch my blue tongue do blue tongue stuff.
So let's talk about gadgets, because you're all about some gadgets.
I like gadgets.
So we have a fly catcher.
Yeah, I need to turn that on.
Okay, what's it called again?
It's called a Catchy.
Okay, so I saw a commercial for one on TV.
Yeah,
earlier.
there's some other ones. But I need to plug.
It like plugs into the wall.
Yeah, I need to plug our Catchy in.
Yeah, you do.
Remind me after the show. I'll plug it in.
Okay.
Also talking some other things. I've been playing around with the Patreon thing. We have a few Patreon members, and I appreciate everything from them because that money really has come in handy for paying for stuff for the podcast.
Agreed.
Thank you so much. And I've been trying to think of what to do for y'all. And I suck at getting the show out, as people can tell if they're listening to this live. I just released last week's show like 2 hours ago. So I think this is what I'm going to do for all of our Patreon members. If you're not a Patreon member, think about it. It doesn't have to be like $2, $3. I don't care. A month. Every little bit helps pay for this.
So that Katie doesn't have to.
So Katie quits yelling at me. But I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the Patreon members. So once I figure this out, hopefully I'll figure it out tonight. Some technology stuff. But I will release the audio episode a week early. So the night of the podcast, I'll release the audio episode. And then I will release the audio episode for everybody else a week later, like right before the next podcast.
So your regular schedule.
Yeah, but the Patreon members will get it a week early. If they don't catch it live, they'll get it a week early. And then also what I've thought about doing is, look, Tim is in two places. I started a Discord I know I'm jumping all over the place. I did start a Discord for the Reptile Gumbo podcast. And I would love for that to just turn into like a community place to show pictures, talk. I've got a few different Discord chats in there that you can jump into. But go check out our Discord. I did post a link of that over on our on our Facebook page as well. But anyways, back to the Discord. I also thought about, I will post questions in there to the members of our Patreon.
Right.
And ask who you would like for me to interview. I'll do like 5 or 10 minute interviews with some of our previous guests. And I want all the questions to come from our Patreon members. So just like a short 5 or 10 minute interview that only Patreon members get to see. And it's their questions. Maybe we didn't cover something with a guest that they wish we would have covered. They heard an episode. We get a lot of people that jump in to our show now 4 or 5 years later after we started it. And they weren't here for the original interview. And maybe they want to know something. And a lot of our guests I can reach back out to, and they would do 5 to 10 minutes, no problem. So I thought about doing that as well.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to do a 5 to 10 minute voice recording than it is to
live right at
do
7.
a whole 2-hour episode. It's not a bad idea, man.
So I thought about doing that. All our Patreon members.
Is this the stuff you came up with this week while I was down for the count?
Yep. Had time to myself. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Patreon members will get the audio version the night of the interview. So tonight I will edit this and get it there as soon as I figure out how to make that work for Patreon members. And they will also get a chance to really curate these small interviews. You'll pick the people we interview, and also you'll pick the questions. And I'll ask them, and we'll do that. So
would that be a matter of like you just post the link on the Patreon where they have access to the link and not for the general public?
Yeah, don't ask questions, Joe. I'm still figuring that out.
No, okay,
but I know people do it.
Bad.
I know people do it, so I know I can do it. I'm sure there is a YouTube video for it.
There you go.
So, but that is what if you would want to be a Patreon member, that is what we'll get. And I also think maybe we'll start doing some gear giveaways, like shirts and stuff, some of the things from our store.
We can do that
to our Patreon members as well once a month, on top of our normal sponsored giveaways during the month on our regular show, like the one right now for Little Shop of Horrors and our friends at Ready Jane Forest. So I just wanted to throw that out. Patreon, gonna do that. Got all of our sponsors out of the way. Robert should be here at some point. I know it's a empty chair. Everybody that's watching, he fell asleep, but he should be here. Like I said, our guest will be here in about 20 to 30 minutes.
There you go.
But we can cover a few things. We didn't have.
Okay, go ahead.
What?
Well, I just have fun stuff to talk about.
I was going to talk about our awesome animal.
Go ahead and talk about.
So we didn't have the blue tongue last week when we did the episode. We had the cage set up, and we didn't have them.
James has a favorite.
I do. I love this thing.
It's so bad, y'all.
And now he's got boiled egg all over the cage.
He is spoiled rotten. James comes into this room, sits in one of these 2 chairs, and he immediately comes to the glass to James.
Well, because I trained him.
Yeah.
We have a bunch of super worms. Mm-hmm. And so I started, as soon as I come in, I open the cage and I give him a super. So he'll come right up to the edge now and take a super worm off tongs, because I'm not using my fingers because he gets excited. I'm not getting bit, but he takes them right off the tongs, and I can hold him. So and we've only had him for a week now.
Oh my gosh, he's so great. He hung out on the couch with me last night.
I love this thing. It is a northern, yes. See anal side. It is a northern. I posted pictures of it over on the Arcadia. Have one of us posted pictures of it over on the Facebook page.
I posted a picture of all the cages. I did not post pictures of the animals.
I think I posted it in the group, in the Facebook group. But it's been a lot of fun, and I really designed. I'm happy to see the way I designed the cage kind of worked out for him. We went and bought rocks from Home Depot, so you can go buy. What you can do is you buy a big like slate rock, and then you basically just break it into smaller rocks. And I did that, and I kind of stacked some big pavers, and then I did a slate over that, and then a few small pavers and slate over that. And so there's these rock crevices, and what he does at night, or she, I'll get to the name in a second, wedges inside of one of those little burrows, kind of in between those little empty spaces in between the rocks at night, just like they would in the wild. They'd wedge in between the rocks. So
go ahead and talk about the name.
So then, for anybody that watched SNL in probably the 90s or early 2000s, if you remember the skit, I'll see if you remember it. My skink's name is Pat. For anybody that doesn't know, you cannot sex a blue tongue visually from the outside. You need like an x-ray or blood work done. So I'll leave it at that. The name's Pat. We'll see who listens gets that reference. My kid,
I didn't get the reference.
My kid has watched.
You had to explain it to
my kid has watched the skit and now gets the reference.
Oh, does she? You showed it to her?
Nope, she found it on her own.
Oh my god.
But it is a lot of fun. This room has become very interesting. You know, we've got the panther chameleon over
lots
here.
Of legs.
It's lots of legs from the Reddies, which I said I would never own one, but he is really cool, even if he's a pain in the ass to feed sometimes. Not that he won't eat; he's just slow.
He's a chameleon.
Darren, you get it, and then Sienna said, "Go look up Pat skit SNL, and you'll get it. You'll get it."
Get it.
And then I've got the Emerald Tree Skinks behind me right here. They are very interesting. They still don't love me enough to come run out of my hands like everybody else, but they will eat out of my hands now. So that is a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
They're fun to watch. They're very entertaining. And then we got this lychee behind me.
She's been pretty active.
So we feed like the little food cups that if anybody's ever had a crested, right? That's what we feed our skinks, the crested guy, the powdered diet that everybody feeds, cresteds and all. And those little cups, and then I use the same little cup for the lychee. And I'm gonna have to start feeding the lychee more because the whole like the happy plate thing, like when it's empty, she licks it clean. It looks like a brand new clean food dish every day. And we fill it to the brim. She eats a ton, and she poops. We took the bigger bowl out so she would quit pooping in the bowl because that was gross. It smelled pretty bad.
That was rough.
It's time for me to throw some. I've got to hook up. I've got to add her into the
mist system.
Into the mist system, and then I'm going to throw some isopods in there.
There you
go. To help take care of some of that lychee poo. And yeah,
and then there's Pat.
Pat's back here just wandering around.
And then I organized everything underneath. So you've got our super worm colony, and we've got our dubia colony.
Yeah,
and like everything is organized. I'm going to tackle the bookshelf, which is right outside of the realm of the camera,
which is probably good. That thing is crazy.
We're gonna organize it and tackle it. That may be like a first weekend of summer project.
So many books that will never get read, but still,
I've read a lot of them.
Feel free. There's plenty of good ones.
No, I've already read a lot I've read a lot that's already out there.
The cool one is that Marco Shea book, the Snakes of the World, or Marco Shea book. That's a cool one. Anyways, what was your fun story?
So I am hatching or incubating currently. I'm incubating button quail at school. Thanks to our buddy Tracy Renee. She has a curriculum for button quail, which is a really awesome curriculum that she created. And my 2 classes are working our way through the curriculum since my state test is done and I get to do fun stuff now.
It's been going well.
I mean, right now they're just sitting in the incubator. We're supposed to candle in 2 days.
So you see the veins.
So I don't think the flashlight on my phone is strong enough.
No, take one of our flashlights.
Okay, good. Because I couldn't see crap with the flashlight on my phone. And I got a little panicked, but it was after school and nobody was in the room. So
Joe and I bought those is it Harbor Freight?
Yeah, like
Harbor Freight flash?
Yeah.
No, we have a Tractor Supply.
Yeah.
They're bright.
Yeah, I can totally take one of those. So we're supposed to candle tomorrow or Thursday, but we state test tomorrow for math. So we're gonna do it Thursday, Friday. And then next week they should hatch. Sorry about that.
Could have told me to mute that before you did that. Anyways.
And so they'll hatch next week, and we've got our countdown going, and the kids, one kid described an ostrich instead
Thought that's what was going to hatch out there
instead of a quail. So that was fun.
It's that public education for you.
These little kids, they're suburban kids. They have no clue what's coming.
Even some of the country kids don't have no clue anymore. They don't do anything outside.
We watched a video on quail hatching to show them what it would look like, and
so
it was lots of goo, and they were freaking out.
So this week I'm doing a project with my kids because my state testing is over, and they're doing a research project on an animal. I've got about 130 something students throughout the day, and my one rule is that no one is allowed to repeat an animal.
Mm-hmm.
So like the first period gets best pick. And then throughout the day, it gets harder for someone to pick an animal. Because I'm like, nope, it's already been taken. Because I don't feel like sitting there and watching a presentation on the same thing more than once.
I'm going to add to that in just a minute. Go ahead.
So it's been very interesting having them pick an animal because they have to be specific. They'll come to me and go, I want to do a dolphin. I'm like, all right, well, what kind of dolphin? What kind of dolphins are there? I'm like, well, go to the internet.
Research,
go figure it out.
Go find out what kind of dolphin.
I want to do an anaconda. There's more than one anaconda. Yeah, you got to figure out what anaconda you want to do. Or I want to do a chameleon. The kid was like, I'm going to do a panther chameleon. I'm like, just so you know, I've got one of those. Like some of the ones that picked reptiles, I'm like, I know a lot about those animals.
Yeah, don't pick a reptile for Lewis.
But it's going to be very interesting seeing their research projects.
So it's funny that you say that because we are currently doing research projects we have to do a biography. We have to research famous people. That's one of the 4th grade standards. So I went to the library and checked out like 50 of the Who Was books.
Yeah.
And every single one of them is different because I don't want to listen to 45 of the same presentations, and I don't want to hear the same person twice. So I have 45 different people that are going to be presented on. And so the kids have to read each chapter of the book. Some of them have 6 chapters. They're literally like 3 to 4 pages each. This is one of the easiest projects I think I've ever assigned. Some of them have like 10 chapters that are 3 to 4 pages each. But they read the chapter, they summarize the chapter, and then once all their summaries are done, they format it into their essay. And then today they're making Google Slides.
Yes, you might have to do a Google Slide presentation.
Kids don't know how to use Google Slides.
Oh no, I have high school kids. They don't.
I'm like, guys, push buttons. If you don't like it, hit undo, go back. It's okay. This is learning.
They're like, it won't copy and paste the picture. And like, if you try to copy and paste the picture into Google Slides the normal way, it gives you a picture that pops up and says, hey, you have to use Control V.
Correct.
It tells you what to do.
Exactly.
And it's like,
it blows their mind.
I'm like, just use the keys.
Yeah.
Or like, how do you put bullet points? I'm like, it's 2024.
Push the button. Yeah. So I realized today that next year in 4th grade, we are going to start the year off with a get to know you Google slide. And
they learn how to use it.
And we're going to learn how to use it like the first week of school.
I've said for a while now, when we were in high school and middle school, technology was up and coming, right? And so really
I always wanted to know how to do all the things.
My parents always bought me the same phone as them so I could teach them how to use it. That's how but computers we knew how to do. We knew how to make websites. Look, if anybody out there remembers making like GeoCities websites, free websites, I made tons of those. But the problem is smartphones. Smartphones came along and made people dumber. And now they can't use computers because they don't know how to use a computer because they don't know how to use a smartphone.
Yeah. Well, so our daughter's in 7th grade and she's had to do at least 6 different Google slide projects in the last 2 years in junior high. So they need to know how to do this. This is something, and they don't have computer class yet. They don't take that until like high school, which is ridiculous. Don't even get me started on that.
There's some more. First sentence of that should be plastic plants kill chameleons. They do.
Yeah.
This guy's actually stuffed. He's not actually living anymore.
Speaking of the chameleon, today is our 1-year anniversary of having him.
That is. And
we've had him for exactly 1 calendar year.
And now it's about time for him to die, I guess.
Shut up, James.
With plastic plant poison.
No.
So is the lychee and the skinks and the blue tongue skink, they're all going to die from plastic plant poison.
No, sir. No, sir.
Anyways.
But yeah, so we've got that going on. So we've got that is pretty exciting. We've got the quail coming up. I'm contemplating, and I haven't talked about this with you yet. I'm contemplating allowing some of my class pets to go home with specific students over the summer. I know.
I don't trust people.
I know. Accidents happen.
Yeah. And could
But
you ever forgive that kid if they killed your leopard gecko?
That kid would never forgive themselves.
It
wouldn't
matter.
be a matter of whether or not I could forgive them. Where are we going to put them in this house?
That's a good question.
We've run out of space because all the space where I normally house stuff over the summer has new stuff.
No, by the time summer gets here, I'll be able to move things out of the closet.
You have a month.
I'll be able to move that boa out of the closet. She'll be fine.
You have a month.
I'll move her out of the closet. She'll come into the snake room. We'll be good.
So I'm like, I'm running out of
we can put something. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
Maybe the guinea pig. Maybe the guinea pig can go somewhere else.
Fuck yeah. Someone else can have the guinea pig.
At least for the month of July. Because
would it sound bad?
I won't be here for July.
I don't want the guinea pig to die, but
no.
I'll be less sad.
But the guinea pig is a little easier, I feel like, to take care of.
Plus that smell. Oh.
No, she's litter trained. She's really good.
You say litter trained. She still shits in the corner. But not in the litter box.
Specific corner. She doesn't poop anywhere else in her cage.
Still the urine leaks into the rest of the bedding.
She pees in the litter box. She poops in the corner next to the litter box.
I call bullshit. Mm-hmm. Anyways.
She's funny. She'll walk her little butt over and stick her butt over the edge of the litter box and go to the bathroom and then come right back to the edge of the cage like, okay, pick me up again. She's spoiled rotten.
Spoiled.
So was my bearded dragon. Good Lord.
All right. So let's check out if I can find. I can't see the screen because I got stuff in front of it. We're gonna go check out our
lots of stuff on Facebook.
Yeah, our Facebook discussion group. Oh, here we go. Let's see what we got. I haven't watched this. Wasn't this? This was something.
I haven't watched anything. I've been completely out of the loop for a week.
I got some stuff I do want to talk about that.
I apologize.
But this is our buddy Huff over at Huff's Herps. He did a rack versus bioactive enclosures debate on somebody's Geckoverse. It was on Geckoverse. But that's posted over there. So give it a listen. I love listening to Huff talk, so that should be pretty good. Oh, this was insane. That's a mud snake.
Oh, I know. Isn't that crazy?
It was an eastern mud snake that somebody posted.
You would have flipped your shit.
It would have taken me a minute to try to figure out what the fuck it was. So if anybody has seen the picture, it is a super aberrant, bright red, not a lot of black mud snake. If you've ever seen a mud snake, they are black on top, red bellies, and kind of stripes. But it definitely doesn't look like this. So it's definitely one of those situations where if I found it, I'm like, what the hell did I find? And then when I realized what it was, I'd have been super sad because I'd have realized I can't keep the damn thing alive in captivity because it wants to eat giant salamanders. Hey, that's a microphone there.
I'm so sorry.
Although we could just, I guess, feed it newts. We're pumping out newt babies. We're just going to be able to figure out how to raise them to adults. We've been having some issues. It's been a learning curve. We will get it at some point.
I think we're fixing to separate our male and female.
Because he's just going at it all the time.
Oh my God. There's so many eggs.
So many eggs.
And he was walking around the cage today.
Thought he was right. They still don't stop.
And his arms were like up behind his head. Like he was just like in this way. Anybody who's watching is obviously, you can't really see me right now because James has the big screen up. But oh man, it was so funny. He's just walking around with his arms like straight up. Like he's just ready to like snatch her any second. Like this poor girl just needs a break.
So also I haven't watched it. Again, there's a lot of things we don't watch. We get super busy right now, but it was a thing from our friend over at Why Did My Brain Just Go Blank? Oh, he's right there on the picture. I can see him. We've had him on before.
Wiccan.
I've talked to Wiccan's Wicked Reptiles. Jesus Christ.
Who has a baby, I think.
They do have a baby now. But it says useless reptile products. It says stop wasting money on these useless. And so that'd be very interesting. I see the heat rock in there. 100%. The cheap telescoping snake hook. I agree with that one. Get you a good snake hook. Sorry.
What? Oh, I'm like, what happened?
Sorry, that was my bad. It's two different conversations at one time. There are several things in there. I will tell you one thing for plant wise. So if you want to do plastic plants, go to Michael's. Michael's has a lot of good plastic plants.
And they have a lot of good sales.
Yeah, you can catch things on sale. Their plastic plants, I like to get rubber. I don't like to do silk. A lot of people will get silk, just gets poop on it, and once poops on it, it's done. Rubber ones.
It's hard to keep the silk clean.
Yeah. But there's lots of good thick rubber plants at Michael's.
And if you download
any craft store, go to any craft store, really.
Download the app, you can get good sales, you can get good coupons.
Yeah.
And then like if you are someone who crafts a lot, then you can also like rack up points. So like I had $10 free the other day and we used it on plants.
Well, like, so to give you an idea of what I've gotten here, because this is this is the most decorated cages we have. Look, most of the stuff are snakes, and they're in.
Oh no, the fish tank downstairs is pretty.
Yeah, it's a fish tank, but they're in. All the snakes are in plain cages or plain tubs. It is what it is. It's easy for me. It's easy for them. So in here, I've got some branches. I think that branch I've had for like over 10 years. I think it came from a.
It's in the garage, yeah.
Yeah, it came from a crepe myrtle at some point. Crepe myrtles are great, by the way. So the time of year when everybody starts doing if you've ever seen a crepe myrtle tree, people will just
murder
them, and they will chop all the branches off. That's the best time for you though, because crepe myrtle branches, if you can get the thicker ones, are great. They're nice, smooth. They're not covered in bark that's going to fall off. They last for a long time. Crepe myrtle branches. Go find someone who's going to ruin their crepe myrtle. Usually it's already happened by now in areas that have already had spring, because they do it right before. But go find them. Crepe myrtle branches are great. And then plants. Don't buy reptile plants. Go to the pet store or go to the craft store and buy them.
So Timothy said Hobby Lobby is good fake plant source. Also, they are, however, they no longer have coupons.
They are,
and I'm a big coupon.
I've got some pretty good ones in the chameleon cage from them. That zip ties, you zip tie the plants onto branches. Yeah, don't buy. I'm horrible when I worked at PetSmart. I didn't want to sell people stuff in the reptile. I'm like, go to Lowe's or go to the craft store. Don't do that.
So it's funny you say that. Somebody in a quilting group that I'm in on Facebook, yes, I just did that to myself. They were asking what brand of rotary blades to buy. And I was like, if you go to Harbor Freight, you can buy the carpet cutting blades for $1.50 and then spend all your extra money on more fabric. And that's kind of how I feel about these plants. Like, don't spend a lot of money on plants, because then you can get more. And then your cage looks more full. Or like we were able to splurge and spend more money on the stones that we wanted for his cage.
And look, those stones came from Lowe's or Home Depot. They came from Home Depot. You could probably find a rock place, like it's someone that does like rocks for your yard and all.
Quarry.
Huh?
Oh, like a garden
quarry. But no, like just like a rock.
Yeah, like a
just as rock. And find that stuff for super cheap. Find the flat slate stuff and all that.
We didn't have the patience to do that.
So check all that out. Looking at Travis Wyman posted stupid AI thing of a fuzzy snake. We'll go past that one. Here's another AI of a giant snake. Just apparently Travis got into an AI thing for a while. Oh, this is a weird one. It's a gaboon viper, and when you watch the video, it looks like its head's blowing up. So it's obviously in shed, and the shed is not opened or separated yet, and so it's breathing out into the shed, and so the shed is puffing up
like a balloon.
So it looks like it's suffering from something, but really it's just loose skin ready to shed that has not separated yet, and so it's blowing up like a balloon. Going through stuff. There's Amanda Reddy out during the solar eclipse with her UV meter.
Yes,
it's important to know what kind of UV you got out there.
She had some great pictures from the eclipse.
So Jason Greetmore, he shared this. I've seen this all the time. It's the just how to tell harmless from venomous based on the tail, the scales on the tail, on the ventral scales. Yeah, that's not the best. You'd have to pick it up. That's dumb. That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Nathan said he's always finds it interesting when snakes eat a turtle. Out of all predators, turtles. I never think snakes. Yeah, but they will. It is a weird thing. Huff posted that thing again. Going through. Oh, I didn't. So Megan posted a lot on the gopher, on the tortoises. I have not read that. I apologize, Megan. There was a lot there. This Nathan posted. This was gross. You see this one? It's it looks like some sort of.
It looks like an alien.
Well, it looks like some sort of vinyl sticker or something placed on the shell of baby turtles, and it stays on the shell, and then the turtle grows up, and that piece around there doesn't grow properly because it's constricted by that, and so this thing has grown.
Horrible people.
People suck.
Speaking of people sucking, I don't know how
Katie,
often you open the Weather Channel app. Do you ever open?
I mean, when I want to know the weather.
No, I check the Weather Channel app like 4 times a day.
Why? Just look outside.
Because I like to know what the temperature is.
I like the surprise.
And I like to know what's coming.
Is it going to rain? Is it not going to rain?
I check the Weather Channel like 4 times a day, possibly more. Anyways, there was a news article yesterday about these people that took a baby bear out of a tree just to take a picture with it.
How'd they not get killed by the mom?
Well, the
bear?
mom was obviously nowhere near. The one person did get bitten by the bear, and I
Good.
hope it gets infected because why?
Damn.
Why?
Damn, Katie.
Just leave the
Calm down.
baby alone. It
Calm-
wasn't hurting anything. I'm going to post that
Calm
article
down.
so other people can be just as upset as I am.
Just
Ridiculous.
posted. Oh, someone found snakes while gardening. Dun, dun, dun. I'm just going
That
through.
time of the year.
I posted this one, which is funny kid pictures of animals. If the animals were real based off the pictures. The kids drew. Oh, go through that. It's a good laugh.
Some of those are really funny. I've seen those before. They float around this time of the year every year.
Australian spiders. The names.
Everything will kill you.
I love some of the names for those. Oh, I found this while we were buying plants for our chameleon. Katie heard someone across the aisle tell their daughter they could not buy a rainbow boa.
No. Okay, so we're scanning plants because we didn't know how much some of the stuff for it was. So we're scanning them, and all of a sudden I hear this mom go, "I don't think we're buying the rainbow boa today." And I was like, "The hell?" So I turned, but James was in his own little world, and he did not hear them. So then we finished with the plants, and I'm like, "Let's go look at the sewing stuff." So we walked back to the back, and on our way back up, we see
The rainbow
boas. And I was
the
like,
picture.
"Oh, that's what they were talking about."
It's a feather boa for those.
It's one of those
see.
tell me you're a snake person without telling me you're a snake person.
It was
Never even thought of a feather boa.
It was a feather boa.
And that's what she was talking about.
This was crazy.
That was
Katie
funny.
was this one of these people in Australia who then just all of a sudden had a giant herd of crabs come through.
Oh yeah, while they were camping.
Yeah,
It's the migration.
fucking Australia. It's a weird ass place.
We I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want to go see the migrations on Christmas Island one year.
I do like. I would like that. All the red
we
crabs.
learned about that last year. Yeah, and it's low key
I
terrifying.
want to see
for
those
me,
giant
but
coconut crabs.
It would be cool. It would scare the crap out of me.
I wanna
But
see-
I want to go.
I want to see the giant coconut crabs, like in that picture, though, the huge ones.
Yeah.
Travis posted this. It's a cool little thing you can make for your yard, your porch. It's a little home for frogs. If you wanted to
I've
attract
had
tree
a lot
frogs.
of people post this, and I'm actually thinking about maybe doing this with some of my zoology club kids. Like that might be fun if they gathered
Yeah.
supplies.
So that's how we tried to find frogs when I was in college for our field vertebrate class. We zip tied or tied PVC pipe to the side of trees.
Yeah.
And then you come back and check the PVC pipe and see if there's a tree frog inside of it. They go inside because it's dark and they're safe inside there.
Yeah.
But this is a cool little flower pot with some PVC pipe, some moss, and it's decorative, and you can get frogs. And that time of the year, you can also get frog calls. It could be great to have frog calls on your porch and all.
So we when I worked ran the education department at the zoo and did a bunch of stuff with summer safari, we would make toad abodes, and we would take ceramic pots. The kids would get to paint them. We would leave the hole open on the top, but we would take a hammer and we would cut out like a little hole.
Like the little fairy things.
Like a little fairy house out of a ceramic pot. And then you would put that underneath a bush in your yard, and you would have a spot for the toads to live.
So bring toads in, especially right now with all these June bugs. Bring all the toads you want.
You almost killed one the other day.
So I did. It was dark. And
It was dark. He almost died.
I've seen this posted several times. Donald Kane posted this, but it's the beetle that the frog eats, and then the beetle works its way through the system and comes out the back end.
What?
Yeah, it's
I haven't
weird.
seen this.
But he wanted to change the beetle's scientific name to Lemmiwinks. For any of y'all South Park fans out there, you'll get that one.
Oh my gosh.
That was a good one. Here's some AI, I guess, turtle Oreo cakes or AI stuff.
Are they AI?
They're
or?
AI.
Oh, there's our Joe.
There's Joe in 2016 holding a big
Little
rainbow boa.
Joe. That's a pre-K Joe.
I don't even remember
With
that.
a rainbow boa.
I don't even remember that litter.
I like rainbow boas are normally bitey. So
I also don't remember that litter.
I'm very
So,
confused.
I mean, obviously it was a litter I had, but
Yeah.
oh, this is what was you, this little boy.
Oh, he's so cute. Okay. You have to do the whole joke though. When is it impossible to plant flowers?
When, Katie?
When you haven't bought any. So he's the little kid.
I'd like to apologize to everyone who just heard that.
No. He's the kid. I also posted this video.
This is a good one.
Okay, hold
Go
on.
with the
So
kid.
he's the same kid that it's like, why did the chicken cross? First of all, he's like 4 and he's super Southern.
Yeah.
So you got to watch it with sound on, but it's like, why did the chicken cross the road? And he goes, because.
I apologize again to anybody listening to this podcast. I understand it's free, but
Let's just Blame the pain pills. It's
Anyways,
okay.
I'm not a person that is for scaring people with snakes. I would never use a real snake.
I
but-
posted that on like my comment when I posted this video.
But I did love watching
do
this
not
video
agree with this.
of people clipping fake snakes onto the back of their friends and then telling them to look around
On the golf course.
and then people are freaking out
Some
trying to
of
run
these
away from them.
people are. Ooh, I thought one man was going to have a heart attack.
Oh, it's freaking hilarious. Nathan Hogan was police find live ball python in deceased man's home. There's pictures. I posted pictures of the cage and of Pat. Again, for those that are
He's so pretty.
pretty. I know I'm partial, but
Oh, he's in the back.
yeah. Underneath our VivTech halogen bulb and VivTech LED UV bulb, which I forgot to get the code, I think, earlier. If you go buy your UV bulb, use code GUMBO22 and say 15%, which we did. Get you UV bulbs for all of your stuff. Jason agrees. That was a horrible joke, Katie. Both of them.
Nobody asked. It made me laugh, and that is what is important. Because I have not been feeling
Graham
well.
Charman posted. Graham Charman got an Angolan python, which I'm kind of jealous. I'd like an Angolan python.
That's cool.
And he got a python.
Graham lives over the seas, doesn't he?
He does live overseas. Lives over one sea, over one ocean. Travis posted a scientific article giving us a brief synopsis of what it is. Way to go, Travis. No, I'm not reading that whole thing. Max posted more stuff from his trip to Komodo with the Komodo dragons.
Oh my gosh. So have you watched any of his stuff that he's posted?
I want to say yes
released?
because I'm friends, but I have not.
It's so good. You've got to watch it.
I will watch it. I will.
It really is. He did an amazing job. I can't wait to talk
tonight during my YouTube time before bed.
Yeah.
California designates Mojave Desert tortoise as endangered. That's cool. There's more stuff from Max posting from his trip.
Yeah. It's
then
really great
Megan
stuff.
shared this about the tortoise also being listed as endangered, which is a great step for the tortoises. So Isaac Kyle posted this about this person training the tortoise to use a wheel. I don't know. I worry about that because they don't. I mean, I guess it's not as big of an issue. Like guinea pigs don't use a wheel. You're not supposed to use a wheel for guinea pigs because their backs don't bend like a rat.
Correct. However,
but a tortoise is stuck inside of a shell. So
well, and the thing is this is also not a regular hamster wheel. If you look at it,
it's big.
It's much larger. I've actually seen other videos of tortoises that do this, but the wheels that I've seen used in the other videos are more oval shaped. So they have a longer path to walk on, and it's less that it's circulating. I'm making up words now.
Yeah, it's not a word.
My brain is a little slower than my mouth at the moment.
So this was cool to see. Our alma mater at Troy University had for Earth Day, the pictures of redfoot tortoise and corn snakes and a bunch of reptiles. It was just cool to see our alma mater.
Well, the arboretum they did the ribbon cutting.
They redo the arboretum.
They did.
That's cool. That's where a lot of my classes were. So, see what else we got going on. Still got a little bit before our guest gets here.
Yeah.
As far as in the snake room, what do I have? I've got a boa that I'm waiting to give birth that I don't know when she's going to give birth. I know she's pregnant.
That's fun.
She was weird. Most snakes, for those that have never bred, there's a post-ovulation shed usually after copulating. So you can kind of, once they do that shed, count down the days till they're going to give birth or lay eggs.
Yeah, but she didn't do that.
She didn't do that. She shed halfway through her pregnancy, just randomly halfway through her pregnancy. So I can only assume she got pregnant somewhere in the first week that the male was with her and they were doing the stuff. So that is kind of my jump off date. So within the next week or two is kind of the beginning of when I can really expect. She has been really coiled up underneath the heat. Although lately I've gone in there several times and seen her off the heat and moving.
You did check her right before the podcast.
I did. She was coiled up on the heat again, but she is starting to look uncomfortable.
Bless her.
So that is a fun one. The reason that's a fun litter for me, it's nothing amazing for the general public. It's going to be hopefully proving out that this motley girl is het albino. That's a big thing I want to find out. She was when I bought her. That's what she's supposed to be. But also the male I produced. The male is a super sun glow. Well, supposed to be a super sun glow as far as I can tell, that I produced several years back. And so this will be a fun litter to find out, one, if he is a super. And it's also the first time producing babies from something that I produced.
Yeah, that's exciting.
So that is very exciting. I'm looking forward to that. Where am I going to keep them?
Yeah,
I don't know yet. I need another rack.
That falls into that. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. What sucks is I've got tubs. I've got all the tubs I need for another rack. I just don't have the rack because PVC is fucking expensive.
Yeah.
But hopefully those babies are coming. I've got Samboas that are locking up. So hopefully I'm going to have Sambos in several months and I can sell those. What else do I got? That's about it. I don't have anything else going on in the reptile room. Oh, so some things I did watch. I watched Dave Kaufman's video where he went to Arlington, Dallas, to the NARBC.
Okay.
And I watched his Rattle On Awards. And what was funny about watching that one is I know most of the people that won the Rattle On Awards because it's in Texas.
I was kind of out of it when you watched that the other night. It was
so
the night we got back from the ER, and I remember.
So Moss family.
Yeah, I remember you going, "Hey, I know those people.
Yeah.
Hey, I know those people. Hey, I know those people."
Moss family won up and coming breeder.
Congratulations.
So if you want carpets, they have lots of carpet pythons. Nick Markham, who I know from shows, he won like best snake because he had a hog nose. Darren said, "Me and my dad can build another cage." We're not building another fucking cage ever again. That is done. ever.
Although he could come visit and cook for me.
I'll take that.
I would not turn that down.
That's not happening. But anyways, Nick Markham won that. And then Kelly, that's not what I meant. Corey Martin won like best lizard from her little black tree monitors, which we saw when we went to her house.
We did.
I got to see a lot of her legged animals. She went from no legged animals to nothing but legged animals.
Yep.
So it was cool seeing. I was like, hey, I know all these people at that show.
That was exciting.
That was neat. I listened to a couple of podcasts this week.
You had a lot of downtime.
Well, I also went fishing today, so I got to listen to podcasts while I fish. But
you guys, I'm telling you, like I literally have been coming home from school and then like that's it.
I listened to the Boas podcast, which is
you said you'd wanted to listen
Warren
to
Booth and Keith and Peak, and they talked to Quetzal Dwyer, who is from Reptilandia, who we met at Reptilandia while we were there. And they talked about South American boas. That was pretty cool. And then I was listening to, I hadn't finished, but I was listening to Reptile Fight Club, and they were talking about the argument between going small, as far as like small animals, small reptiles, and not going small. And as someone who keeps both, I see both sides. I like the idea of small reptiles, but they kind of point out there's kind of a difference between small and like micro, like really small.
Agree.
Like your morning geckos are super small.
You're correct.
Right. Those guys are really small. So
what I consider too small are things that are going to eat fruit flies.
Yeah, that's my cutoff. If it has to eat fruit flies,
it's too small.
There's several small species of gecko I'd love to do, but they eat fruit flies. I'm not doing it. But as someone who keeps sand boas, I like the idea of small reptiles for several reasons. For the general public, I like it because it's much easier for them to house. You know, a lot of folks go and they buy a baby Burmese or a baby retic at a show because it's small, and then that's a lot to handle when it gets big. But if they do a sand boa or
like I have a corn snake in my classroom. She's full grown, but it's a corn snake.
That's a fairly small snake.
I consider that to be a small snake. I can't tell you how many people walk in and they're like, "Oh my God, this thing is huge." And I'm like, really? Because I have so much stuff at my house bigger than this.
Well,
like,
one of the other,
I just don't get it.
The other ideas was if you do small and then you do something like the cage behind us. So we have this 4x2x2 cage, right? And so if you put something big in there, that cage doesn't seem that big.
Correct.
But you put something small in there, you can really deck it out with a whole bunch of stuff and really start to watch a lot of interesting behaviors. Because they're going to be doing some of the stuff they do in the wild, right? They're going to do some of that camouflaging and hiding and all that. So it's a lot of cool stuff that you'd see and moving around. You can hide food in different places.
Well, one of the things that I've talked about with people that have bought snakes from you before when they buy rainbows or red tails, if you buy them small and you grow up with them.
Yeah, see, and that's also where like I don't consider red tails a big animal. I consider red tails a medium-sized pet.
Yeah. Yeah,
don't get me wrong. I've had 8-foot plus red tails, and that's a lot of snake. But I mean, all my males are 4 foot or less eating medium rats, so they don't have to be huge. But I can keep way more samboas than I can. Hold on one second. Katie, keep going.
Oh yeah, you could definitely keep more samboas than you can red tails just because of the space and the size that's involved. We've actually talked about the ball pythons that we have because you're that big up and coming ball python breeder.
Huge ball python breeder.
We've talked about actually moving one of those into the classroom next year and ended up with like 2 snakes next year. So we'll have both of those. So that could be kind of cool too. But yeah, I mean, I guess it just depends on like what you're into as far as your size, and then you know what you can do individually as well. So
Well, yeah, like I said, you could do so much more with some of these smaller species. There's a lot of cool smaller species of lizard. You don't have to go iguana or tegu,
right.
or even bearded dragon. I mean, look, a bearded dragon setup's pretty big. The blue tongue, he's gonna get decent size. He's gonna get bearded dragon size.
Right.
So he's gonna take a good chunk
Which
of his cage.
blows my mind. Like he's just so little.
But there's still a lot of space there.
Like I know he's gonna grow, but
I mean,
no, he's not.
The chameleon cage, he's almost full grown in that thing, and it's a 4x2x2 standing up. And when he's hiding behind leaves,
where is he in the?
You don't see him. He's probably up top in the top left is where he normally goes.
So he's probably throwing a fit right now.
So yeah, I thought it was kind of an interesting thing. A lot of people want to go big. Also, a lot of things they pointed out in there was, and it's something I agree with. A lot of people getting into reptiles want to get reptiles that other people have, like the common stuff, which is fine. But we talked about before.
If that's what you're into, then go for it.
But the problem is, and what they kind of point out is, a lot of people don't know what they're into.
Yeah.
Like they go into a reptile show and people are trying to shove ball pythons and crested geckos and bearded dragons in their face.
I want red-eyed croc skinks.
See, that's a cool animal.
But I've wanted them for like 3 years.
But that's a cool animal that we could do. You just gotta get money for them. But they're not that expensive. They're not, from what I can tell, that hard to take care of once you have them set up.
Yeah.
But that's not something most people are going to go towards.
Well, but it's also something that and I don't mind talking about this on the podcast at all, because I will be the first to admit that I'm very much a spoiled wife. With that being said, I feel that you also are very much a spoiled husband.
Not at all.
But that works for us, and it's worked for us for 20 years. So we're going to keep on keeping on. But with that being said,
there's applause for that. For me, for being such a...
James does a lot for my animals. Do you need me to say that again for you?
Sorry, the button's set up here.
He does a lot. And if I get red-eyed croc skinks, I don't want them to be one more thing you have to take care of.
That's what she said.
I want it to be something I take care of.
That's what she said.
So that's why we haven't jumped the gun on that yet.
That's what she said.
Just make sure you remember that.
Yeah.
I've got all these, but I need to play with these buttons more often. They're fun. Anyways,
you could let the Patreon decide what's on the buttons.
I need to go through and redo some of them. Our guest is having technical difficulties. They're working on getting in.
Oh, okay.
So hopefully they'll get here.
That's fine. I would ask you if you've read any good books lately, but
yeah, I agree, Timothy. They do end up with Noah's Ark syndrome. And most people in this hobby have been that way.
Which is funny that you say that, because I am not one of those people. I don't need to get 2 of everything because I don't want to breed it.
Well, but that's not it. It's not even 2 of everything. It's just they get everything. You know,
like Pokemon, you got to catch them all.
They get into the hobby and then they start like anything that, I don't know how big Craigslist still is anymore, but people would go on and any reptile that popped on Craigslist, you'd meet those people that have like a tegu, an iguana, a ball python, a red tail, and they have all these things that none of them they had as a baby. They're all things that they got secondhand from somebody, which is nothing wrong with it. But there is, when you haven't figured out how to take care of one of those things perfectly, and now you have 10 different species.
I get that. My problem is I like to take care of things when they're babies, and then when they grow up, I want to give them to somebody else. It's like puppies. I just want them in the puppy stage, and then I want them to go away, and then I don't want them anymore. But I can't do that. That's not fair. But I'm afraid if I fostered, that I would get attached. So that's why we haven't fostered animals yet.
Yeah, I'm not fostering animals.
Can't. I'm afraid I'll get attached.
Sorry, I'm trying to.
No, you're fine.
Work through technical difficulties. But yes, even the Ready said they did in the beginning. Everybody does it. They get through that.
Oh,
and I was that way early on. Especially my collection was not great when I was a zookeeper. So I was in that Noah's Ark syndrome while at the same time cleaning cages all day and then coming home and going, ugh, and I'm not going into my snake room. Right.
Yeah. That's one of the perks of being zoology club sponsor at my school, is I can have a variety of things that I want, or like, oh, I want to try something. Let's try this. And then if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out.
Well,
but it's cool because I get to have all of those experiences.
Well, like I said, my collection suffered. I lost a lot of my boas early on to some illness, which could have been night. I don't know what it was, but that was 10, 15 years ago. Lost all those boas because I was not quarantining. I was not doing everything. And that was way early on. And people settle into the hobby. Ooh, let's get to our guest. Our guest is here.
Yay!
Here we go. Our guest tonight, is Jim Ward of Next Level Displays. How's it going, Jim?
It's going well. How are you?
We are good.
You look very bundled up. Are you cold?
It's cold here. We're in Michigan. So
What
it's
is that like?
It's like 50 degrees outside.
Oh my gosh, that sounds beautiful.
Hey, we got into the 60s last week.
We have had beautiful weather at recess this week, actually. It's been in the 60s.
And it's probably going to be 120 in a week.
It's been awesome. The kids have loved it.
It just means that our Texas summer is going to be miserable.
They were like, can you believe it's this cool in Texas? I'm like, it's Texas. Give it a week. It'll be hot again.
Give it a day. Give it half a day. But so Jim is here because I've wanted to have you on for a while, and we're on episode 212, and so this seems like a good time to have it. Because my display that I use for reptile shows
that you get lots of compliments on.
That I do, and I was also one of, so it was very weird. I was one of the first ones to have one, and then I started, as I talked to people, I started to see them pop up at our reptile shows around, and a lot of people have them now. But was made by you. And I was like, it was one of the very first ones. So I'm also kind of sad when I see the newer ones. I'm like, oh man, I wish mine had that.
You know something that's funny. Your name is still on the whiteboard in my basement from when we used to build these in the basement.
Oh, how cute.
Yeah. So I've got a list of names that there's probably like 10 or 12 of you on there. And then there's a list of improvements to make. And yeah, I just never took it down. It's still hanging there.
That's so funny.
I've loved it. Like I said, it was funny when I first got it. People would want to look at it, and it's funny to hear and we'll get into some of the things you hear, but the negatives I hear about, I'm like, aren't real. I get it. They're like, it's heavy. I'm like, well, yeah, it's heavy. Have you looked what it does? Like, it's not. It's got to be. Heavy.
I would almost be concerned if it wasn't.
That would
heavy.
worry me.
Like that would.
Our first. I gotta move this so I can hear myself speak. Our first attempt was to make it like it is, but also lightweight. And when we were assembling the prototypes, pieces were just busting and blowing apart with the other materials. So that's when we decided to beef it up and go with the HDPE, which is pretty much indestructible. And unfortunately, yes. I couldn't stay light, but it's for the better. It really is.
Yeah, and for those that don't know what we're talking about, I also want to give a heads up because you weren't here earlier, Jim. If any chance that our internet cuts out, because it happens once a week and it hadn't happened yet. Just hang out. The people live can see you, and we'll be back momentarily. Our expensive internet likes to cut out.
That they're about to go up on. I got an email today.
Jesus Christ. So I can pay more to have my internet go out. But go check out Next Level Displays on Facebook. And if you've ever seen them at shows, they're the ones that it's all contained. It basically accordions open and you're ready to go. It looks like those, what were those? You were a girl at that right age.
It's a caboodle.
The caboodles, yeah. Yeah, in the 90s, anybody remembers the caboodles?
Our daughter had one of those when she was younger in the dance studio.
It's got heat built in. It's got a thermostat built in.
This is way better than a caboodle.
It's got lights built into it, and it's really, you get there, you set up your table. I can set up for a show. The thing that takes me the longest setting up for a show is the banner.
Yep.
That is the pain in the ass. Everything else goes up pretty quick. But you also go check it out. It's great. But like I said, the complaints I always hear is it's heavy and it's expensive. I'm like, yes, but it's not. Once you add everything up, it's not expensive. Once you realize that
everything in the hobby is freaking milk is expensive right now. Like, don't give me that excuse. But
I do love it. It's basically made out of the same stuff as like cutting boards. It's indestructible. It's not going to fall apart. So yeah, why did you do this? Because like that was kind of your first thing, and then you went into racks and cages, which most people would have gone racks, cages, and then displays. But
so it evolved out of a need, right? So just like everybody else, we started with deli cups on the tables and eventually got some used acrylics and then some nicer acrylics, and just the setup and teardown every show was killing me. It's like, there's got to be a better way to do this. And I've always put heat on the animals. If I had heat tape underneath my tablecloth with deli cups or heat underneath the tablecloth in between the layers of a standard acrylic display. And clamping the lights and packing up the lights. And I don't know how many lights I broke traveling between shows. And it's got to be a better way to do it. So it's probably a thought process that took, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years by the time it became an actual prototype. And it all developed just out of a need that we had doing the local reptile shows. And then once I developed it, it's like, other people are going to like this and going to want this. So we patented it and took it public, and here we are. And
Oh,
the cage, like I said, I used to do this like yours is built. I didn't machine any of the plastic. I paid a company to do that, and I took all that and all the aluminum into my basement and cut it and made a mess out of my basement assembling these things. And in 2019, we had the opportunity came across to buy a CNC. We were actually leaving on a church trip, and the CNC came up, and it was going to an auction if I didn't buy it right there on the spot. So I wrote this guy a promissory note saying, I'll buy it when I get back from my church trip, sight unseen. And anyway, we came back from our church trip, got the machine. Some friends of mine had opened a company, said, hey, you can rent out the corner of our shop and set it up there. And I guess the rest is history. Then we took off making the racks and cages. That's why it wasn't the reverse.
Yeah, that display, and it's funny it took this long because I know tons of people have had the idea, just no one has done it. Because I've thought at times it'd be really cool if I could just fold this all up and unfold it, and no one's never actually put it together. And then the first time I saw it pop up it had to be on Facebook, I guess. I was like, yeah, and it was at the right time. I just had a litter of boas, and I sold a few, and I was like, all right, I'm buying this now. And at some point I'll get another one, but I breed like 1 or 2 litters like every 2 years, so it doesn't matter. I haven't needed the second one, but the idea that they can all hook up, I think, is really cool. And seeing some of the changes. So some of the changes that I've seen is the brighter and deeper light bar, so that it covers farther to the front, which is nice. The one thing that I think is interesting, that I guess had to become a change, but probably wouldn't have if things hadn't changed, is the thermostat, right?
Right.
The Herbstat Intro, I don't understand why they quit making it. It was a great thermostat for anybody that wanted to make incubators or make what you make.
From what Dion at Spider Robotics, the message I got from him because I talked to him, I was like, dude, I'll buy tons of these. You got to keep them. And it was supply issues. He couldn't get the supplies to keep that one going, and I guess he had to make a cut somewhere, and that's one that didn't make it. So.
That's crazy. I would rather they cut some of the Wi-Fi ones that don't work that well. But
yeah,
the Intro, I've got that on that. I've got it on an incubator that somebody built me. If anybody doesn't know anybody that doesn't use first off, if you don't use Herbstat thermostats, you should. You should. They're great. But that Intro was for people that make stuff because it was fit flush mount into stuff, and it was great. But mine has that. But now you have your own one that you've gotten made. I've seen that on some of them. So I guess that's one thing that's gonna be great for you because you can get it.
Yeah, and it's my product, so I'm the one that stands behind it now.
Yeah.
So anybody has an issue, right? It's free replacement a year and beyond.
That's awesome.
No questions asked. So if something goes wrong with it, I'll just ship you a new one. It's plug and play. We've set it up now, cool. so it's quick disconnect plugs. So I think it's 8 screws to take you got to take the back off and the front off, 2 plugs to unplug, cut a zip tie or 2, and that's it. So you can replace it really easy.
That's great. Yeah, that's one thing I do love about the whole unit itself, though, is just the ease of everything on it. Like I said, I put a tablecloth on, I throw it up, and I've got heat, I've got light.
You've got a foam charger.
That's the other great thing that you put on the back is those USB charger ports are great for charging my phone and charging my card reader.
Yep, that's what we use ours for, our card readers and our phones as well.
Yeah, that's been awesome. So what other, I'm trying to think if there are any other changes you've made since you first started building these that you made to them.
There hasn't been a lot. There's been the lights, like you said. So the lights used to just pop straight up and had what we could find for a quality light at the time. I mean, it started with a single row, evolved to a double row. We're now up to a 4-row high quality light it's 6,500 degrees Kelvin. I know most people know what degrees Kelvin is when you measure light, but the big thing is there's a CRI rating. It's CRI index, which means color rendering index. The new lights are 95 to 98 CRI. So that's the percentage of the true color you would see under the sun. So if you put a red apple out in the sun, you're going to see 100% of that true redness of that apple. Under our lights, it's going to be 95 to 98% of that true color. Most of your LEDs in the industry are 80%, low 90s. So we've got the highest they make is 98.
Yeah.
And that's the lights that we buy. So that was a big change. And then we also started, people wanted it to extend out. So I don't think yours has that option either. So now they
does
extend
not.
out a little farther to just get some more light on that lower level.
Yeah, normally I'm like, I don't want to be the first one to own something because there's always things that break or they fix. But I was like, when I saw that, I was like, okay, well, I need this. So I was the first one, and I'm not. I have no knock on it. I love the thing.
So
Well,
you said that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say the beauty of it is it's upgradable. So we can
There
hook
you
you up with the
go.
newest and latest light.
We'll
version
upgrade
too,
you, babe.
so.
Let me get this litter of boas born and sold, and then we'll see.
Mhm.
So
you said that you kind of started out with like stuff in deli cups. So what kind of stuff do you keep?
I breed boas for the biggest part of our collection.
I knew that.
Oh, well, I didn't. That's why I asked.
And then along the lines, I was going to be just a boa guy. That's all I was going to breed. Along the lines, one of my friends, also another boa breeder, no longer in the industry, but wanted one of the boas that I had, and pretty much said, I will buy that boa, except you're going to take all my ball pythons that I have.
Ugh.
As part of the deal. I'm like, all right, whatever. I'll flip them. I'll sell them to other people. If you don't want them, that's fine. And then we got those, and breeding season had like come around as this was happening. So it's like, well, we'll pair a couple up and see what happens. And one thing led to another, and we started producing babies. And we were posting Facebook videos of that, and it was fun, and it added another level to the table. So we weren't singularized just to the boas. You know, when you've got more variety on the table, obviously you've got more customers that you appeal to. So we kind of like that idea. And then another friend of mine hooked me up, and he gave me his whole ball python collection, his whole carpet python collection, and cluebird collection.
Oh wow.
He was moving and just needed someone that could take them, and I was that person. So yeah, my reptile collection went from I don't even know what the numbers were, like 35 to 150 in a matter of months.
Oh wow.
Yikes.
It was.
How soon, once you started building these displays and all that, did you go from to full time, this being the job? Are you full time on this yet?
Oh yeah, we've been full time for quite some time now.
That's what I figured.
So I developed a product. The prototype was in 2018. Started the company, actually started the LLC in late 2018. Applied for our patent. Got the CNC, like I said, 2019 was the fall of 2019. I put the CNC in motion. February, I installed the machine at the shop and started production. That was February of 2020. COVID hit.
Yeah, that's a rough time.
And we thought we were closing our doors. It's like,
but being best for you.
What are we gonna do? No, well, so we weren't as quite as, I guess, popular at the time. So the flow wasn't heavy, and we didn't have a big backlog at the time. But what COVID, the company that used to cut my plastic for me, called me up and said, "Hey, I heard you got your own CNC," and I was ready for to get chewed out. I took work away from him, but he was asking me if I wanted work. I'm like, sure. So nice. I cut COVID sneeze guards.
Nice.
All summer long for 2020. I cut over 40,000 sneeze guards in my shop, and that saved us. And right when that kind of started to peter off, the display industry just took off, and 2020. I had quit my job in January of 2020. My wife quit her job in March of 2020, and it's been no looking back since.
So
wow.
I do want to get back to the boas in a second because I like boas, but I want to ask, over the last 4 years or so, how have plastic prices hit you? Because I know I have other friends who've done racks and cages, and our other co-host who's having a time tonight. He may or may not be here. He did them for a while and he got out of them recently, but I saw how plastic prices went up on PVC. How has that affected you as a business?
It hit us in the face like a brick.
Yeah, it's rough.
So for part of it, COVID, everybody's staying at home. Nobody's producing plastic except for hospital stuff. You know, they'd produce plastic for that industry basically. And then once that kind of people started going back to work, we had the ice storms that hit Texas, and Texas is where the factories are that make a lot of the polymers that are used in making the plastic. That hit us probably the biggest. Our prices tripled, 300% increases, and they still haven't come back to where they were. They've gotten better, but still, I'm still 200% of what I was getting. Some of the companies that used to make the plastic I use don't even make it anymore.
I think I was talking to my buddy because we were going to build I need another rack. And he's like, yeah, a sheet of PVC now is $200. I was like, damn, it was way less than that when he got into it.
Yep.
And not even that, I watched the price of like screws go up and the price of heat tape, like everything just went up. And so I just imagine it's interesting because I've watched your business grow, and I know it's hard because people want to pay 2018 prices in 2024.
It is, and some people don't understand that. It's taken a lot of diligence and a lot of kind of trying to stay competitively priced, and yet not increasing prices has been really, really difficult. Our prices have increased a couple of times, but I've done as much as I can to try to keep prices lower. I try to source more quantity when I purchase something to get my prices down as much as possible. Like plastic, I now place orders 100, 200 sheets at a time to try to keep the cost down. Screws and everything. The more you can buy, obviously, the lower you can keep your price. But it gets to a point where eventually you have to raise your price a little bit. Keeping the company small was another thing that kind of keeps us going. There's a small not even a handful full of us here. So
I don't know that. Well, I know that people will look at you at a show and you'll have all these things there, and a lot of folks will look at it and think, "Oh, he's rolling in the money," and they see the price of these racks. And I'm like, the margins on some of these things, I know that they're not that big. Like the margins on some of these racks are pretty small, so you can stay competitive.
Yeah.
And I know that's gotta be it's always a pain in the butt when people say, they go, it must be nice. Like that's always the phrase you hear when like it must be nice. I'm like, yeah, but they're working their ass off and not making as much as you think.
Yeah, and the material we use for our racks is not PVC. Everything's high density polyethylene, which is a superior material.
Oh, so you're using that on the racks too?
Yeah, everything is HDPE. So it's also a more expensive material.
Oh yeah.
Now I think when you compare to go to thicknesses, I run a 3/8 material in HDPE because you can, instead of a 1/2 inch, which is most of your PVC stuff. But I started working with some PVC stuff early on with racks, and I absolutely hated the product. It makes a mess. It's brittle,
and it's not always the same. You know, I watched my buddy go through it and change different suppliers here and there. And you'd think if you're ordering 1/2 inch PVC, it's 1/2 inch PVC. And the sheets are not always the same thickness. So 1/2 inch is not always a 1/2 inch for everybody.
And that's with all plastic.
Yeah. And then just the durability of some of it. Some of it dense if you push it too hard, right? Some of it is better. So I know that using what you're using is much stronger. There's a cost and weight comes with it, but it is a much stronger material, and it's going to outlast a lot of other stuff.
It is. I actually had one customer, he buys cages from me. And he had PVC cages in the past and bought some mic cages. Well, he had moved and his straps come loose on his trailer and he dumped the whole load on the highway.
Oh.
And he said everything landed on top of our cages and all the PV stuff exploded, and our cages just had road rash on them from sliding down the highway.
Nice.
I said, do you have video proof of that I could use?
I was going to say
that's a pretty good sales pitch.
We need to pitch this. This needs to be an advertising point. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like durable.
Another thing I learned over the time is, I don't know how many people know, but PVC produces a toxic gas if it burns or melts. Yeah, it's similar to mustard gas, which HDP does not. Now, you don't want to probably breathe any smoke coming off of burning plastic, but at least it's not a toxic mustard gas coming off of this material.
Yeah, you have to be careful with like high temperature animals, depending on how you're heating it. I know that. Also, the one thing I don't know how HDPE works, but God, if you put PVC out in the sun, you are screwed. Like that stuff warps like crazy. You know, that was always the thing when he was selling racks. I would help him put them in someone's truck. I'm like, you're gonna have to cover these because your drive home, it will not be shaped like this when you get home. And their thought is always, well, it's because it gets hot. I'm like, no, UV rays will warp the shit out of this.
So most of the HDPE is using the marine industry, boats and boating materials. So it's pretty good as far as UV goes. Black material in the sun will soften and move, but usually once you get it in and cool it off, it'll go back to where it was.
Yeah, that was always in. I have one cage that someone gave me, made by a pretty big name, but they always made stuff out of wood. But it was early on; they gave it to me free, and it was pretty dirty getting it from them. I was like, "Well, I'm not bringing it into my house. Let me set it outside, and then I'll clean it." And I came outside later that day, and it was all bowed, and I was like, "Oh shit!" So like, let me flip it over, and maybe it'll flatten back out, and then both sides bowed. And I was like, "Well, crap." So I realized then, okay, these things cannot stay outside. But so let's go to boas because I want to talk boas. What do you work with?
Boas, all kinds of them.
What genes are your thing?
I'm probably deepest into VPI T positive.
Okay,
I've got a lot of VPI T positive stuff. A lot of. I've got everything all the way up to snow glow.
Yeah.
So I've got a lot of jungle. I've got a lot of motley stuff. We're always adding to it. I'm not up there with everybody that's at the next level.
Oh yeah.
With the genes they have into it, because I take a slower approach, especially with the shop being as busy as we've been. I don't get to dedicate quite as much time into it and money, but we're pretty vested in VPI. I've got some Longicauda stuff. I've got Argentine. I got some T positive Argentine stuff. We've got a lot of Sharp. We still have Call in the collection. Leopard.
So that's where I'm sitting. My buddy Jason in the chat's making fun of me because everything I find is everybody's working with VPI, and I'm trying to work with Call. Like I've always felt that Call gets shit on as an albino, unfairly.
I agree.
I think everybody was like, it's an ugly albino and it fades out. I was like, well, that's because it was the first one and everybody bred ugly shit to it, and that's why it became ugly.
I've got some pretty nice calls. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know about the ugly part. I think like a Call Sunglow compared to a Sharp Sunglow, I think a Call Sunglow looks far better than a Sharp Sunglow.
Oh yeah.
Sharp Sunglows almost look like they don't have sharp, crisp lines. It's almost like the pattern kind of bleeds together a little bit. Where in the Call, man, they're crisp lines on your bow ties on a Sunglow. They're nice and crisp, and I really like that. And most of my Call stuff is clean. It's not muddied out.
That's mine. I'm looking forward to this year. We talked about earlier before you came on. I've got one motley female that I'm waiting to give birth, but the male is a super Sunglow Call that I produced several years ago. This will be my first producing babies from something I produce, and he was the best one. I held him back, so I'm slowly trying to get the best looking Sunglows with Call albino, because like I said, it drives me nuts when people want to say that. I was like, but I always thought it was an unfair thing because when Sharp came around, it was a more expensive animal, so people weren't breeding it to the cheapest of snakes. They were breeding it to better looking snakes, and I think it was just took a better path. And then VPI is just so different.
I think Sharp's big thing was that its compatibility with other genetics.
Yeah, the
T positive stuff, for instance. So you got your Paradigm and stuff like that being compatible with Sharp, it just made that worth so much more because they could pair it with so many other things. And first generation get some really cool looking animals, right?
Yeah. Well, it's funny going on Morph Market and looking at available boas every now and then. Call is not that common now when you go to look for boas on there. Just everything is almost VPI. It was very hard when I was trying to find certain things to add into my collection that looked the way I wanted, because I was wanting some really good, clean hypo stuff that was like head albino. And every time I find something that was really good, clean hypo head albino, it's at VPI. I was like, God damn it! Every time it would happen, it would be VPI. And I'm like, but it looks the way I want. It just has the wrong albino.
Yeah, and I've got. See, I don't have anything on Morph Market. Nothing. I was on there when they first put boas on Morph Market. I was one of the first guys on there, and just life has gotten so busy. I don't have the time to do the pictures or the patience sometimes with boas. And I just don't have anything on Morph Market. We don't hardly half the time we don't even take animals to the shows because we're so busy with the product. But I've got a lot of call stuff still. And I got some RLT calls that are het calls even that are just super clean RLT stuff that I haven't done much with because I just haven't had time to do it.
That's really what I'm trying to work towards is really clean hypo, sun glow, or jungle stuff. Just super clean background, really bright colors. That's kind of where I'm trying to work a lot of my stuff into. But we'll see. The only really like other gene that I want to add in right now, and I just can't afford when I don't know why it's still so expensive, but is Labyrinth.
Yeah.
I think it's an awesome gene and what it does. I like genes that make the pattern weird, but also give you a clean background. Yeah,
that's why almost everything I have has a little bit of jungle in it, so I got to be careful there. But
yeah, see, that was the problem.
I have too much jungle.
Well, that was my problem. Was I've got a lot of stuff with jungle, and then I've got a few things I got to prove out in the future. And I'm like, well, shit, everything has jungle. And I don't want to breed jungle to jungle just because I know some of the genetic issues that can come from that. And I'm like, I know there's some sterility issues, and I know with my luck, the best looking animal will be sterile and never be useful ever. So I'm not doing it. But then I realized, so the last litter I had, and the people in the chat will find it funny because they know the story, but I don't like anery. I'm not a fan of anery.
I love them.
Outside of outside of making it snow, I don't like anery because it takes away what I like about a red tail. And I had a snow bred to a male jungle hypo possible het call albino. I was like, all right, let's see if it's really call albino. Babies were born. I looked in there and I'm like, fuck, they're gray. And I just realized that this thing is het anery. And I messaged the guy, I was like, hey, are any of your animals het anery? And he goes, no. And I was like, one of them is. And so, but then I realized going through some of the babies that I still had for sale, I had a few babies left. I was like, oh wait, I have a ghost that's het albino, or a ghost that's het albino that doesn't have jungle in it. I was like, I need to keep the snake because I realized I need something that doesn't have jungle because everything else I have in my collection has jungle. And that's one of those tricky things. You just got to be careful with genetics.
Yeah. Anery, if you get some really clean anery stuff, is beautiful.
Yeah.
When it gets really, I've made some double het VPI anery stuff that's I've sold, and I've seen the animals years later, and it's like, wow, that thing looks amazing. But you got to give them time too.
Well, one of the jungle ghosts that I kept back is super clean, and looks nice. And then this other ghost that I've decided to keep is really nice. But then I have some aneries that were in there. That's my other problem with like snow. You'll see a lot of, and I always tell folks the problem with snows is they're really pretty, but it hides a lot of ugly.
But why? Like it just
because you don't see the melanin. Like I like super clean animals, and you'll see people that'll sell you snows, and if you don't know what you're looking for, if you can look at them, you can see what
you
would be black
really
in there.
Pay attention.
But everybody's like, it's white, but it is clean because it's a snow. But then when you breed it out, you'll realize, it was not a great looking animal.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I like clean stuff, and so that's kind of where my problem is with some things.
The clean I like too. So one of the genes I have in my call stuff still is one that I like a lot, and it doesn't make it clean. It makes it, I guess, muddled, but it's muddled in a great way. Is I produced the first 3 world's first Ferrari calls.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So a really good friend of mine from Rising Sun Boas, she was kind of trying to figure out her collection, and she's like, I want you to take these animals and we'll figure it out later. And I raised the animals up and finally produced the first 3 Ferrari calls, and it works a lot like the coral did in call. So it really adds a lot of coraling. The heads get very pink.
Yeah.
Now we've got that in sun glow now, so I'm waiting for these babies to color up and see how they look. And I'm taking that Ferrari also into the VPI stuff and playing with that.
I've got a friend of mine, a Colossal Constrictor, sent me a baby that's got, and it's the only one I have that has arabesque. And arabesque kind of goes against everything I'm trying to do in a lot of things. But I'm like, this will be interesting to see what it does maybe in some of the really clean sun glow stuff to see how some of these colors pop up. So I am interested to see that one. Plus it's arabesque, motley, hypo, het albino. So I was like, I like co-dominant genes or incomplete dominant genes, because I like the whole Christmas thing. Like you don't know what you're getting until you unwrap it, and then you have 4 or 5 genes in there, and it's always fun to see what happens there.
Yeah.
So that's how I try to aim towards that stuff. But then the rest of my collection is sand boas, and everybody makes fun of me because I keep worms as pets, but I like my sand boas.
I get asked all the time if we have them. I've never monkeyed with sand boas. They're too small.
They are small.
They get out too easy.
That was one issue. One of the first racks my buddy made me worked great for ball pythons, and then I put baby sand boas in it, and I started getting out because there was a little gap in the back, and they were able to squeeze out that where ball pythons weren't. When most people's customers was like, yeah, you can't do that because these guys can get out of that stuff.
Yeah.
But I do want to go through the questions. I posted 2 questions over on our Facebook page because I knew I was having you on, and they centered around racks. I was like asking questions about rack systems and display stuff, and some of them I thought were very interesting. So I want to go through those and then get your opinion on kind of what their thoughts were. So the first question was, what are some advancements you would like to see in displays used by breeders at reptile expos? Since I feel your display is pretty much advanced beyond everybody else's, I'd like to see what some things that other people would like to see.
Sure.
The Leviathan Hatchery said, I would like it to be normalized to have displays, be comfortable for animals to be in. This means occasionally misting them, heat sources, space for them to move freely in the displays, even switching out animals on display when they're stressed. Well, the heat you got, we're good there.
Yep.
And space really, because of the way your acrylics are, they can be changed into so many. It works great for me as someone who keeps boas and sand boas. It's worked great for me. I can put both in there.
Right. That's kind of why that developed too. I didn't want to force someone to buy, say, a 555 that's locked into that, and then once they had bigger babies, they're trying to cram in these little spots. Otherwise, they got to buy a whole nother acrylic.
Yeah,
I wanted to make it convertible, so as convertible as I could figure out. So as things grow, there still had room, and I think we did that with the 4 compartment with removable dividers. I think we accomplished that.
I like
As far as misting, when we do shows long that are over a day or two, that a lot of times we'll carry little water bowls with us, and we'll set them in the displays so the snakes can actually have access to some drinking water.
That's a good idea. Yeah, I people always 2 days or so, but some animals like I get really worried when I do rainbow boas. Every now and then I'll have rainbow boa litter, and I don't feel as comfortable leaving them in a display for 3 days as I do a red tail.
Yeah, right? Sure. Unless you had maybe if you had some moss or something.
That's what I do. I normally do moss in there for those guys because I've got to keep some humidity on them.
But then you got to be careful with acrylic, especially depending on the kind of acrylic you're using. Acrylic actually absorbs moisture and can warp.
Oh.
So early on, I wasn't aware of this, and we used to use. So there's cast acrylic and there's extruded acrylic. Extruded acrylic is terrible for absorbing moisture and warping. Cast will as well, but not to the extent. So that creates another issue with having too much moisture in there. It'll go once it dries out, it'll go back to its regular shape.
Yeah.
But when the moisture is in there, it'll absorb that moisture, and then some of it will actually get a curve to it.
I didn't think about that. I did know, because I think I learned it from you when I first got it, was the chalk pens or the markers everybody writes on their acrylic with can cause issues over time too, cracking and stuff.
It's the alcohol they put in it for a drying agent that attacks. So if you buy like a big sheet of acrylic, that sheet's pretty stable. You can write on the middle of that sheet without any issues. But when you take and you flame polish, is what we use to polish up the edges really nice so they look like glass.
Yeah.
You flame polish the acrylic, anywhere that flame and that heat goes across will actually change the chemical makeup of that surface area. And if you
makes sense.
If you get anything on there like alcohol or acetone or ammonia or like anything that's in Windex or rubbing alcohol or these drying agents, it actually attacks that surface area. We call it crazing, but it looks like little spiderweb cracks.
And I've seen that in people's acrylic
displays. That aren't taking care of it.
And if you get it on the edge where the flame polish is, like right on the edge, the thin edge of the acrylic, it'll actually cause acrylic. It looks like someone took a hammer and smacked the top of your acrylic. It'll actually dart into the acrylic that way. And then I don't know if to finish on the room
Good.
for the animals. I don't know if you've seen our new large breed display.
I have
So
not.
I took the 3-level display and I took a level out of it and made it a 2-level display. So now this 2-level display is 1.5 times the height of a regular display and 1.5 times the depth. So you're looking at like now it's a 12, like almost a 12 by 12 cube that's
Oh, wow.
8 inches tall or 6 inches tall. And then you got 2 of them side by side. And I made the center removable. So now you've got a 22.5 inch by 12 inch by 6 inch. I can put a 6-foot boa in one of those displays.
Wow.
Nice.
So
That's awesome.
And then we came up with, I don't know if you see this behind me.
I was trying to see what that was.
That's
The
our tower. We're calling it the power tower. So that's also heated and built-in lights. It's got a fan circulating system in it that keeps that there's a cold air intake and then a return. So it keeps all the
nice.
air all the way through the whole thing the same temperature.
Does it have a case that it goes into easily, or how's that work?
We have a case. The case is quite extensive, so I wasn't offering it as a complete unit. It was like you can get it as an option.
Gotcha.
Because it's very expensive. I'm looking at other options to see if I can figure out a cheaper way to make the case. But yes, I do have a case for it. In fact, I don't know if you can hear Ann in the background. She's actually finishing up a case we're taking with us to Colorado tomorrow. So,
well, that's always been my issue with tower displays is that the traveling with them. It's harder. And obviously that does not fold up as easy as your tier displays. So it's a little trickier.
Yeah.
I
should have power on it, but I didn't have power on it.
Our friend Amanda Reddy from Reddy's Rainforest, they do chameleon, says they'd like to see more enclosures and less deli cups. I'm all for that too. I'm for that for multiple reasons, and I think I like deli cups. And I've said this in the last several episodes because we've seen this happen at several shows recently. People that are new, it's so easy to have your stuff stolen in deli cups. That's one reason I'm anti deli cup.
Yep, that's true. I do a deli cup display that has a
the cover
acrylic top, so people can't walk away from them.
I get deli cups for corn snakes. It makes sense. For hog noses, it kind of makes sense. They're small, they're squirmy.
So yeah, some of the lizards and geckos.
Yeah.
And someone that has a lot of different stuff, different sizes, different needs, different substrates. It makes sense for some of that stuff too.
But like,
does your deli cup enclosure, does it have like spots for specific size deli cups and then a lid that closes, or is it like an open bottom with a lid that closes?
No, they're specific. So
they're specific.
I haven't had anybody order any of the large deli cups. So they're all the 16, 12 ounce deli cup circles. I don't remember how many you can fit in there off the top of my head, but 10 or 12, 15, I don't know.
I see a lot of
just drop down in the holes.
I see a lot of gargoyle geckos and crested geckos that are in cups like that. It shows.
And I get that. Like, I wouldn't like to see, I don't like to see boas in them. That would take a 6-inch, and plus at that, they pop lids off really easy. Some of those snakes.
Yeah.
So if you're not,
I'm kind of mixed feelings. I mean, I started myself with deli cups too. So
I did too.
For the person that's new into the hobby and don't have a lot to put into a set of displays to get started and start doing shows, as long as they can pay attention and stuff doesn't walk off, and as long as they keep working toward always making their setup a little nicer, and then their animals in a little more comfortable situations, I can see the step process, right?
And I get that. One was funny. We did a show, and it was someone doing their first show, and they thought it would be cute to use cake boxes for their ball pythons. And they left them in those cake boxes overnight.
By cake boxes, like the boxes that you would get cupcakes in.
Like cardboard with the clear
with the local, okay.
Yeah.
Like that you buy from Michael's.
You can guess what happened in the morning. There was some stuff missing.
Yeah.
And then they had to go find it in the show. And I'm like, look, I get it. You're trying to be cute, but there may be a reason that no one else is using this.
Yeah, that's the other problem with delis. Even is snakes can push out of them. You see deli cups all the time that are taped down because you got a snake that's pushing or something. But
there are many times I've had to put someone's snake back in a deli for them as I'm walking by their table.
I've been at multiple shows where animals go missing, and a lot of the shows now are requiring that they're in a locking container so that doesn't happen, because then they have
Mhm.
problems with the venue and who knows, the city, townships. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that becomes involved if you're
Oh, absolutely.
not responsibly keeping your animals locked up. So
That's another reason why I love my display. Like once I lock it up and close it up, I know everything is safe in there. Plus, overnight they have heat, so I don't have to worry about whatever happens inside the place I'm at and how the temperatures change. Let me get back to Amanda's. She also said better labels with more information, including prices. I hate when no. See, that's a breeder thing, but I always tell people put prices on your stuff, and I get some people don't want to because they think it will cause someone to want to start a conversation. But I know the typical people that come to a reptile show, they don't want to start conversations. Most of them are socially awkward, and you need to have a price on there. If you have a price on there, it makes it so much easier for them to know what's going on.
And here's my thing. I'm going in there as the wife of somebody who may be looking for something specific. So if I walk around knowing you're looking for something specific, I know what our budget is. And if there's not a price on this animal, it's a lot easier to assume it's out of your budget and just keep walking.
Yeah, true.
So and
that brings us back to the chalk marker thing. So because of the chalk markers, I had to figure out a way people could easily label their animals. You don't have any of our labels, do you?
No.
He is a label maker.
I have not.
Okay. Maybe I can show you one here. I usually tell customers.
I have seen it because I have seen some other people that have them. I did see them.
Yeah. So I tell people to use a label maker, but you want to use a quality label maker, because if you use cheap labels, when you peel it off, you get the glue residue left behind.
Yeah.
Right.
And the stuff that'll take off that glue residue, that will also affect it.
Yeah.
So hang on a second. Let me grab one of those labels real quick. I know where one is.
Okay.
They kind of solve the issue for us as far as having things have all the information on them. And they work like they're a static cling, so they work like the oil sticker in your car. It just peels off and sticks back on. And they're reusable, so we use a erasable pen on them. And when that animal's sold, we can just wipe them off and go with the next animal. But this is, let me get this right.
Oh, that's nice.
So it's got a spot for gender, a spot for price, a spot for genetics. And
I like that.
Like I said, they're a static cling, and we stick them up on the top. Seems to work pretty well.
Yeah, I like the idea. Again, and I agree with Amanda. You got to put price on your stuff. I've talked to enough people. There's two things that I find. One, put a price on there, and then just say hi to everybody that walks by. Those two things will cause sales to happen.
Sit behind your table like this and expect to sell an animal.
Like so many folks are afraid to start a conversation, but if you just say hi, they'll start a conversation. Like they'll ask you stuff about the animal. Like they just got to have that icebreaker.
And and just saying hello can be a starter, and that can easily lead into more.
Yeah.
You're looking for something specific,
or ask them how do you like the show so far?
Just anything, just start a conversation.
Do you have reptiles at home? What do you keep? I mean, just anything, and that breaks the ice. It just starts. It makes everything easier for both sides.
Yeah, you've got to look, and that's what people will talk about. They go to a show and they don't sell anything. And don't get me wrong, the market on selling animals right now is not the best, and it's definitely not 2021, 2020. It's not. That was a great time to sell animals. So yeah, when you're at a show, you got to sell yourself, especially. And I always do it. I'm gonna shit on ball python people. If you're a ball python person, there's 40 other people with the same thing on their table, and you've got to separate yourself from those 40 other people. That's how you're going to sell your pied versus them going to that guy over there and buying their pied.
Yeah.
And contrary to most people's opinion, the way to do that is not by making your prices half of everybody else's.
Correct.
Yes. That doesn't help anybody.
No, that ruins everything. The way to do that is to put a little bit of time in and show that person on the other side of the table that they're worth your time.
To me,
once they're worth your time, they feel like I can make an investment here and feel like this person is going to help me throughout the process.
It almost scares me when some people's animals are marked significantly lower than others, because I'm like, what is wrong with your animal that it is so much less?
Yeah.
I had a conversation with a vendor at the last show for that very exact same conversation.
Well, that's you know, and we talk about the other thing that helps is we talk about bettering your setup as you go along, right? My setup now is definitely different than my setup when I started.
Yeah.
But that is definitely something that will help you. There's we talked about this with Bob Fu at one point. There's definitely a point at where if you're too fancy, people tend to walk by your table because they're afraid that everything there is too expensive. But there's definitely if you're too low end, people walk by your table because they're afraid that everything there has mites and it's sick. Whether it is or not, you know, no lights on your stuff, deli cups with no tablecloth, and they're probably going to walk by because they're going to assume that it's probably not the best quality animal, and it could be.
So it's every time we talk about this, I took a class in college that it had to have been some type of a business class. So it must have been for an elective.
I'm glad you remember college so well that you don't even know what you took.
But what I took away from this class was the professor would talk about Garth Brooks, the country singer.
Oh yeah, he's not a country singer. He's a businessman.
He's a business major. And the reason he was a business major is because he said once, he goes, I can't carry a tune in a bucket. I'm not the prettiest guy to look at, but if I'm going to make money doing this, I have to learn how to market myself. And so that's why he became a business major, so that he could market himself to become a country singer. And like, that's how he became as big. Like, that was one of the things that pushed him to become as big. And that's ultimately what you've got to do. You've got to maybe not look like the weirdest person at the show, and maybe, you know, put a smile on your face. Like, I'm all for, like, don't tell me I have to smile, but you know what? Smiles.
Look, I've got some friends.
Customers.
I've got some friends that I see sit behind tables with sour faces on their phone all day. I'm like, we're friends, but God, this is not going to help you sell anything.
Exactly. Always continually trying to improve your setup and your look was one part of that. Oh, I'm losing my train of thought of where I was going to go with this. But presentation and looking like you actually care, or you actually have an investment into what you're trying to do, makes you look so much better than if it walks up and it looks like a garage sale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's a huge thing to show people that you care about these animals, that you care about what happens to these animals even after they leave your table. I tell almost all my customers, hey, send me pictures of the setup. Send me pictures on the road. We always like to see pictures of how things are going, how things are doing, because we care about the animal and we care that the person that has the animal has a great experience. So I always tell all my customers that there's no stupid question.
See,
and there are.
You're not a teacher. We're both teachers. I promise there's stupid questions.
We had a whole conversation after school today about stupid questions our kids have asked us all day.
There are stupid questions, but when it comes to a new experience and you don't know what you're doing, I would rather a million stupid questions and walk them through that process.
Agreed.
So at that point, there's not a stupid question. Just to make sure that they have a good experience, because I don't care how old they are. If they're an 8-year-old child getting their first reptile because their parents brought them to a show, or if it's an 80-year-old veteran that's been around. But if you make sure they have a good experience, that's a customer, and you build a customer relationship, and those customers come back.
Well, and here's my other thing.
If a customer comes to you and say they're having a bad experience, and you don't want to deal with them stupid questions, and you kind of blow them off, they're not going to come back.
Nope.
Also, most of my sales come from repeat customers. You have your first time sales at new shows, but most of your shows that you've done a few times come from repeat customers because they're satisfied with not the product, but the investment that they made.
Yeah.
Right. And I'll obviously, those of you that watch us can tell I am not by any stretch of the imagination a very shallow individual. I often look homeless on this podcast. But when I'm at a show, especially if I know I'm behind his table, or if I'm working the front booth at the Herp show and running a register, I'm going to have on clothes that are clean. I'm going to have on lipstick because I feel like I can run the world with the right shade of lipstick. And I'm going to have on fun earrings because that just makes me feel better about myself. So if you look homeless behind your table, you might not going to get the sales.
And the whole thing is,
brush your hair, put on deodorant. I don't know.
This doesn't have to be a this is not a business for me.
You don't have to wear a 3-piece suit.
Well, this is not a business
done
for me.
that.
I don't. I don't breed.
Bright orange, like
Oof.
fluorescent hunter's orange, full 3-piece suit.
Oh my
with the tie,
gosh.
everything.
But I don't breed.
It's to draw attention.
I
There
don't
you
breed
go.
snakes for a business. But you don't have to be a business to look like a business at a show.
Right. Just look
Like,
professional.
you can look professional at a show and give the appearance of being a business and still be a hobby.
And
be a hobby guy.
professional can still be blue jeans and a t-shirt. Just make sure they're clean.
That is true.
I mean, God, look at what look at what Andy wears on half of his shirts. I mean, I'm not going to walk around in those
Can't
shirts,
believe you just called Andy out. He
but
didn't know
they're
anything else to do.
clean. They're crude, but they're clean.
They're crude.
I mean, that's Andy. We all know and love
Let me
him.
get through the rest of these real quick. Amanda, who's still in chat, said she'd also like to see rechargeable light fixtures so we don't all trip over everyone's extension cords. Even one that can handle a UVB and heat would be nice. That's because you weird lizard people need UVB.
But our phones don't even stay charged for the whole day. How are our lights going to stay charged
That's the
for
other
the
thing.
whole day?
It'd run down fast. And then I said for our expo setups, personally, I would like a case system of some kind to pack up screen cages. That's right. They do chameleons. They have a lot of screen cages. And they can get damaged easily. So it'd be nice to have a case to put them in.
We've been working on that one.
There you
I
go.
got some chameleon customers that we've been working on stuff. Nothing real super promising in the works yet, but we have been having discussions and going back and forth. It's fairly new, so we're early on into the conversations, but it's potential.
There you go, Amanda. I know you're in the chat. You just keep paying attention. And then the last one someone posted was, I would love better made displays for animals, but to be frank, most of them are garbage, hard to clean, no heat, and if it does have heat, it's ungodly expensive. All right.
First of all, that is very vague. What do you consider ungodly expensive?
Wait, that's my thing. So look, your prices are on. Your displays are currently what, 9 something?
Secondaries are $9.85 and the mains are $11.25 now.
$11.25 because the main comes with a thermostat.
Oh, look at everything that comes
But
with.
that's the thing. It's 11, so $1,100, $1,200. But if you're putting 8 snakes in there, all worth $500, $400. I mean, it's nothing. It's
2 snakes pay for your display.
That goes back to the conversation where people would, and I don't get me wrong, I'm all for trying to save money, but we'll spend $5,000 on a snake and put it in a $20 shoebox, right? Because they want to try to be cheap, and that's fine, but understand what you're paying for. So
it's an investment, also.
It is an investment. So a lot of people look at that initial price and it's a sticker shock, and I understand that. So we now sell also, we call it our economy display, which is basically your standard display box with the 3 acrylics that you have to take out and do the stacking thing. No heat, no lights built in, just an economy display. That runs $450 on a set that's black. Okay, now take a good LED light fixture. There's a few people in the market that have them. There's some that are specifically for reptiles. I believe those ones are probably close to, I haven't looked at them, but I think they're close to $200. So now we're at $650. Now put a $100 thermostat on that. Now we're at $750. Now you put the USB ports, the outlets, all the wiring, and the labor that goes into making
the time to set it up.
The quality materials. You're getting pretty close, dollar for dollar for what you get, and then you still don't have that convenience of the time to set up and the time that you save every time. So if you look at it apples to apples, yes, it's a sticker shock, but if you break it down, it's actually not as much over those same components if they're to buy them individually as you would think.
I do have to kind of chuckle just because I know what I paid for mine versus what they are now.
It was a long time ago.
It hasn't changed that much.
No,
it's not much more than what you paid.
No,
a little bit, but not much.
But I am gonna have to get another one at some point. I'm also the weird one where I would only want to. I only want the ones with the thermostat in it. I don't want the secondary unit that goes with it, because I want everyone to have, like, because if I have 2, it's probably because I have sand boas and red tails, and those are 2 different temperatures that I'm probably going to keep them at. So I'm going to be able to keep them at 2 different temperatures. But I need to hit up Corey Martin now that she's got all those legged animals. She's going to be selling hers, I'm sure, at some point.
Or displays?
Yeah.
There you go.
She's got a whole set of them. Let's see if Corey make me a deal. I've already got a lychee from her. Maybe I can get some displays from her.
Is she not doing reptiles anymore?
She's doing
not doing
lizards.
snakes.
She's doing monitors.
Okay.
She has no snakes.
She has gotten out of the legless stuff, and now she has a whole thing full of legs. That's too many legs.
The smaller stuff that fits in the displays is still a plus in the displays because a lot of times the heat will make them pop and color up and.
Yeah, she's got a lot of those tree monitors, so she does a lot of vertical
that's a lot
screen
more,
cages and cages.
Yeah, more of an arboreal setup.
So our other question I also asked was, what are some changes you would like to see in the design of reptile rack systems? And a lot of them kind of had the same thing. Some of the things that we've all wanted to see in them, but Carl England said, just my opinion, but open top PVC enclosures suck. I don't know why that came up. That's not a rack. I agree. Open top PVC enclosures suck. That's a weird one. Ashley Howdy over at Focus Cube says, able to use UVB and other lighting, be modularly stackable to expand as needed, clear tubs for animals to adjust. So seeing out when they move into an actual enclosure, which she said all that knowing that she fucking makes that. We get it, Ashley. Focus Cube makes one. I'm just kidding. They also made my sign. I haven't pointed out in a while for anybody watching. They also made my sign behind me. I just got to give a plug for Focus Cube because I got a cool sign. Brittany Deason also said the ability to provide UVB. That was on several of them. That's been a thing everybody's wanted, and it's just a matter of waiting for the technology to catch up to being able to put UVB in a rack properly.
Yeah, that's been on the conversation for years and years and years, and it's been in my thought banks too. Just trying to find the best way to blend the two, right?
Yeah. So that's a tricky one. Angel
and price. So if I put UVB in a 5-stack 70 rack, people are not they're going to look at that price and be like, "What?" Well, take 5 UVB lights and see what that runs, plus the labor to put it in. So
exactly,
people say they want it, but then once it's an available product, will they be willing? Is another question.
Exactly. Leviathan Hatchery said, I hope it becomes a big thing where they start making enclosures you can attach together to make bigger enclosures. That's kind of cool, but still not racks. But I get that enclosures that you can. That'd be cool.
We almost built some of those for a guy over here he wanted to be able to take like terrestrial enclosures and put them with arboreal enclosures and have pass throughs, and so I mean that's doable. That's not that difficult.
Todd Schaefer,
the custom work is the hard part.
Yeah. Todd Schaefer, this one, tubs with some sort of label holder. You do realize they make peel and stick label holders you can throw on a tub. Just saying that you can go to like Office Depot and get some. It's a peel and stick label holder. So they did it, Todd. They did it. Miracle solved. Angel Villalobos said cost-effective ways to get clear tubs. Yeah, those clear tubs are expensive as hell. That's just how it is.
And they're made from a different material, so like urates stick to them a lot worse than they do a softer plastic like the gray tubs or the semi-clear.
Yeah. Max Hicks said stop using cheap PVC, which a lot of people did because PVC got fucking expensive.
And we don't use cheap PVC here, not at all.
True. So. No PVC there. That saves that problem. Danielle said, I kind of like the heating elements to be towards the front. This was interesting. She wanted the heating elements towards the front. And Brian Levins made a kind of a good point about that too. It'll allow for he deals with a lot of terrestrial geckos in a rack, and he'd be able to put the nesting boxes towards the front of the rack. And instead
That's actually a good point.
He said he's been many times because he uses sand in his racks, and there's been many times where he's dropped or almost dropped an entire tub of sand because he had to pull it all the way out to the back to lift the nest box.
I can take any one of my racks and reverse the shelves and make it in the front if they want it without an extra cost.
There you go, bro.
It's nothing but spinning the shelf.
I say
you take the shelf and spin 180, and you have exactly what that is.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
The big thing is going to be your cord routing, where you want to route the cord out and how you want to do that. But that's not difficult.
Our friend Megan talked about she was talking about she couldn't remember who made them, the drawer type racks with the clear window, which those are the expensive ass racks from ARS or Freedom Breeder. So
we do one too. We do the Freedom Breeder 90 rack with the clear window in the front. You can get a clear what's that?
Out of metal and everything. Do the whole
ours is the
PVC or the HDPE.
Yep. We use the thicker material for the HDPE, and it's the big, huge like BOA 90 tubs that we've done.
Oh yeah.
I think I've done 4 of them now. Them tubs are expensive. So that 4-tub rack is like $800.
Yeah.
It's a big tub, and when you put the windows on it, that's more added cost. And then the windows are not installed, so either you have to pay me to install them, or you have to install them when you get them too. So,
our friends over at Lil's Shop of Horrors, this was a funny one because they said racks that have tubs that are interchangeable. Each shelf can hold 3 small tubs, 2 medium tubs, or 1 large tub, which is funny because that's what all my racks are. All my racks hold a V35S, for 2 V18s, or 3 V15s. As someone who does Sambo,
we have the same rack too, except we use the Freedom Breeder tub, so it's the FP5s, 3 of them, 2 of the FP8s, or one of the. You can get the V15 short.
Are they? How far off are they? Do you know how far they off are on measurements? Are they about the same? The tub
measurements as far as
tub
what?
heights, the heights of each tub, are they about the same from Vision to Freedom Breeder?
I think they're identical. I think so. I think you could take Vision tubs and slide them right into my rack.
I'm gonna have to reach out at some point. I've got to get a new rack. I've got tons of tubs. I just need a rack. Is my only problem.
So here's a question for you. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. So I know like a lot of pet stores and businesses will do like they'll take PayPal and things like that. Because you can do like the pay in 4, or they like our friends with the Grant Family Exotics.
I forget what the other one's called.
We're using like Shopify. Maybe?
No, they were using something
else. Affirm. Anyways, do you do anything like that?
Yeah, our website allows that. So our website has I think it's a WordPress version of the same thing that almost most websites should have that. Mm-hmm. So it's an option that you can select in the website.
Afterpay, that was what.
Afterpay, that's what it is. Thank you.
Yeah, I may have to reach out.
That's how I bought tires for our truck. The last time we bought tires, I was like, let's just do them all at once. And I used that method and it was great.
But so a lot of good, like I said, the UVB thing has come up a lot. I've seen that one a lot. That's just a technology issue. That's, I mean,
and a cost issue.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if somebody legit really wanted it, I could figure that situation out and build it. The problem again is cost, because the custom works. So let's just say my FB20 rack, I make hundreds of these racks a year. So all the design work and everything is built into that rack and spread out amongst hundreds of racks. If you want 1 or 2 or 3 racks custom built, all that design work, it has to be eaten by that person that wants that customization.
Yeah.
And then you've got on top of it the cost of the extra materials and extra labor time for assembly too. So if somebody wanted that rack, we could figure something out. It might be costly. The trick of things is figuring that out to try to keep it at economical price and something that can be made fast.
So they're wanting UV on a display or
on racks?
Oh, okay.
On racks.
People want UV on racks.
Gotcha.
But it's definitely costly to do.
Tricky, yeah.
Well, and that's why I've always hit with when I talk to the folks at VivTech, trying to figure out some sort of strip lighting that you could work into a rack, but they're just not there yet. Anyways, so yeah, that was a lot there. We're coming up on 2 hours. Got any other questions, Katie? No. You're coming down to the Houston show next month, right?
Yeah, so we leave tomorrow. We'll be in Colorado this weekend at the new Castle Rock show. That looks like it's going to be a huge show, and then we'll be down to Houston for the Reptilian Nation show in 3 weeks.
Yeah, I think so.
I
haven't been back to it since the second one they had, but I may have to come back because I come see y'all. I want to see Bob Boo's gonna be there. We talked about Bob, so I want to come back to that show. It's an interesting show in Houston. It's
18th and 19th, Anna says, for the Houston show.
Yes, yeah, it's in Houston, whereas a lot of shows are outside of Houston because there's a lot of legality stuff in Houston. But it's interesting. It's hit or miss for some people, but good racks and stuff are hard to find out around. So that'll be good.
Yeah.
But yeah,
we'll have a 30-foot trailer full of product we'll be pulling down there. So
look, the Reddies will be there.
Oh, cool.
So see y'all when the Reddies when you're there.
Reddies, we have to go to dinner. You have to come over. We have to make plans. Amanda, I'm going to text you.
Wasn't talking. So man, you guys can go over and talk to Jim about his ideas for the chameleon stuff or the screen cage thing you want to talk about. So have at it when you're there. Trying to see what else.
Ooh, sorry.
I was trying to read what was in the chat. You were young.
That yawn came out of nowhere.
So yeah, we'll have to go to the Reptilian Nation. I think we're gonna come by and see that.
I don't think we have anything yes, we have something that Saturday afternoon. Other than that, I think we're free.
Just little heads up for those that are coming to that show or even the Colorado show, these 2-day shows. Most of my customers know, but being a new area, Houston will not know. We will not be available there Saturday. Our product will be set up Friday during setup, and it'll be there for the people to check out on Saturday. If they have inquiries, they can message or call and leave a message for us, but we won't respond until after sundown Saturday night. We might respond to some, but then we will be there all day Sunday.
So we're going on Sunday.
Okay, cool.
Yep. So our church day is Saturday. That's the reason for this, that we don't do business on our church day. And just
Gotcha.
Some people, I put a sign up all the time, but a lot of people, I had one guy at the last show say, I looked right at the sign, but I didn't read it.
Oh my God.
That's
It's honest.
We go back to talk about having price on stuff. I have the price on all of my steaks, and someone will go, how much does that cost? Or they'll say, is that an anaconda? And I'm like, it tells you what it is on there. It's a boa. It's not.
There's no stupid question.
Yeah.
Yep.
This 4th grade teacher disagrees. 23 days. 23 days.
So if people want to reach out to you, talk to you, except for on Saturdays, if you want to talk about this, I strongly suggest anybody out there that's planning on doing this long term, look into one of these displays. Yes, there are cheaper options, but there's a reason they are cheaper. Cheaper is not better. How could they get a hold of you?
Pretty much any of the standard ways. So we got Facebook. Next Level Displays LLC is the easiest way to find us on Facebook. We're on Instagram. Our website is next-level displays. There's Anna. He missed you. Next-leveldisplays.com. Don't forget the dash. They can reach out by phone, text.
Yeah, I would. Like I said, if you haven't seen one, go to a reptile show, walk around. You'll probably find one of his displays on somebody's table at any given show.
And if you need to contact me, if the person that has my displays doesn't have a business card of mine,
I still have it and brochures.
The back side of their display should have a permanent business card mounted right to it. They can take a picture of that'll have my information on it as well.
I handed out a bunch of brochures to folks when I first got mine, and there's a bunch of people that actually now have them because of that. But
yeah, appreciate that.
So everybody listening, you can find us at the Reptile Gumbo podcast anywhere. Also, remember, check out our Patreon. I'm going to edit this tonight. It is going to go out to all of our Patreon listeners. I promise. I'll figure that out before midnight. But it's going to start now. So if you're a Patreon member, you'll get this a week before everybody else. And also, we'll start doing some smaller interviews with previous guests. So we'll start doing that soon. Also, don't forget our giveaway this month. Thanks to Lil's Shop of Horrors and the Reddies. You can get 500 dubia roaches and feeder fuel, the food that the Reddies at Reddies Rainforest make. That stuff is great. All you got to do is go tell us your least favorite feeder over on our Facebook page. And it's Red Runners. I don't care what any of y'all say. The least favorite feeder is Red Runners. I will accept a close second as fruit flies. Those are really the two least favorite feeders that everybody should say. Other than that, we will see everybody next week. Jim, if you'll hang around just for a second. Everybody else, good night.
Bye.
In there. Wait for it.